Well, good news there, loyal theorists. I believe I have at least the first batch of questions answered, and oh boy, if I'm right, this game is drawn from one of the most controversial parts of the lore, while simultaneously setting us up for some massive reveals later this year.
You know what? The series keeps setting us up for these massive reveals that never happen. I'm just gonna be real with you guys. They never happen, and I'm getting really sick of it, but it's not MatPat's fault that they don't happen. It's Scott's fault, but like... Fusion Z Gamer, for example. Fusion Z Gamer was one of the first people to post a video of the Mimic ending, right? No disrespect to Fusion Z Gamer. I love Fusion Z Gamer. But, so when he found secret scooping room ending, right? The whole time, he just shouts, "Oh my god, guys, oh my god, it's the Mimic in a Mimic suit," and then constantly reiterates and insists that it's not a mod. And I think that's really telling that it could be a mod. Like, he has to insist that it's not a mod because you could believe it's just a model swap on the Mimic. Watch Fusion's reaction here, guys.
And now all that's left, oh my...
Again, nothing to do with Fusion. This is not Fusion's fault. This is not a criticism of Fusion whatsoever. It's criticism of FNAF.
He's in a... What the heck is... Oh my gosh, what is that thing?
Oh my god!
Okay, that's one of the Mimics. That's one of the Mimic suits.
It's the suit.
That's one of the Mimic suits.
We already knew it was the Mimic. Who cares?
Whoa. Dude, this looks like I'm playing a mod right now.
It looks like a mod.
What is that? That's a brand new animatronic. That is a
No, it's not. It's the Mimic in a suit, but okay.
brand new animatronic. I mean, it's the Mimic, but it's like, it's a
Yeah, exactly.
it's a new suit.
He points it out.
Oh my, this is awesome. Okay,
Oh my
okay, guys, I
God.
promise you, this is not a mod. This is real, okay?
not a mod,
I've been on this game for the past almost 24 hours, and I can tell you that is not a mod. That is brand new. This is real. All the doors are open.
See, like, he has to insist that it's not a mod because that's how trivial it is. It's literally a swap, right? Even when Fusion sees the new ending, he has no idea what to make of it because, like, what was that ending? Like, what was that?
Oh, wait. What did we just... He's dead. Oh, he's dead.
Ruin and FNAF has become pure fan service, and that's it. It's all like little bits of things that, like, you know, we make videos like that going, "Oh my god, guys, look at this, it's crazy," right? But nothing ever happens. Nothing ever happens.
According to the books, the AI program was originally built to play with Charlie, a girl that wore a green wristband in order for the security puppet to protect her. Her influence is now putting green markers over the parts of the system that are good.
Listen, Charlie's existence in the games amounts to Henry saying, "My daughter."
My daughter, if you can hear me, I knew you would return as well. I should have known you wouldn't be content to disappear. Not my daughter.
He never says Charlie. We don't know that it's Charlie. We just know it's my daughter. It's likely an analog for Charlie, but I don't understand the obsession with Charlie. Like, why is everyone so obsessed with this character from the original trilogy, none of which seems to be relevant at all anymore? And plus, aren't there freaking 4 Charlies anyway? Because they're all robots? Like, oh my god. Remember when FNAF did his whole big theory thing where he was like, "I think that Patient 46 is evil robot Charlie Baby from the books," and it was like, I mean, like, it wasn't a bad theory. It was just like, from just like a rational standpoint, it's like, no, they're not going to make the reveal be this character that no one knows. Like, this character that you could have played every FNAF game and done everything, 100% all of them, and still have no idea who evil robot Charlie Baby from the books is. Like, they're never going to do that, right? I don't understand the obsession with people wanting, like, trying to bring Charlie into this. Charlie has never mattered. She has never mattered. Why should she matter now? And there's been many cases where it looked like she was about to matter, and then she didn't. Because nothing ever happens. It's all just like, oh, it looks sort of like the game is saying this, and then it abandons that plot point or never really develops on it, or just like very slowly gives reveals onto it without ever actually giving anything conclusive. Without ever being like, yeah, Charlie. Like, Scott, if you want Charlie in the games, just say, "Hey, Charlie, this is Charlie. You know, she's Henry's daughter." We'd be like, "Okay, bet. Charlie's a thing now. Nice. We can all agree on one thing. Charlie, we have a character." But you know what? Knowing Scott, it would be like some bullshit where like, "Oh yeah, this is Charlie, but it's like a different Charlie from the book. So like, it's not all going to align perfectly," which is like everything in FNAF. And it's like so dumb. It's like, dude, these books that like sort of align with the games, but not really. And they have characters that are like analogous to characters in the games, but like not really. And it's like, why? Just like, it seems like they're just afraid to commit to a story.
very random. Like, why is he here? Just to be another scary thing to chase us around? Maybe, but that doesn't tend to be how these games work. And
Yes, it is. What? I disagree with that point. There's been many characters that are just added because, like, they're scary things to chase you and scare you. It's FNAF.
why would they choose such a random design of being both light and darkness, sun and moon? Well, now we know. Clearly, Eclipse is conflicted. One half wants to protect you, but it's getting shut away by the darker, more sinister half. He is good and evil combined. He represents both codes competing within the same body. Other animatronics are more of a sliding spectrum. Some are more corrupt than others, but Eclipse represents the balance that naturally exists within this neural network system.
It's cool. That's a cool point. It makes sense. It's a nice observation. Let's assume that was all deliberate. That Eclipse, Steel Wool and Scott planned for Eclipse to represent the duality, the Jekyll and Hyde sort of nature of this person torn between these two codes. So what? What does that tell us? Like, who cares? I want to know about Gregory. I want to know about Cassie. I want to know about, like, Afton, I guess. I mean, like, I want to know Vanessa, Vanny. I want to know about the characters we have. It's just like a little Easter egg. It's just like a little bit of extra lore about Eclipse that gives you more context of sort of what's generally going on. But that's not a story. It's a setting. It's just like infinite vague world building without any actual story.
Actually, the one trying to kill Cassie in the final moments is a theory for another day. Instead, I'd rather focus on this, the mimic tunnels.
Dude, why are we talking about the tunnels?
We've never seen anything like this in the entire series. Well, almost never. In the second novel, The Twisted Ones, as a
Here we go, back to the freaking trilogy.
Am I saying Cassie is Charlie? No, I might one day, but for now I'm still mulling that one over. But I do think that there are clear connections between this game and those books that are
Yeah, wait. Yeah, I didn't read that shit. But like, okay, that sounds like more book bullshit. It sounds like Cassie is Charlie. What about all the other times that we had like vague connections to books like this and like it didn't go anywhere?
Theories, the location.
This is totally gonna get forgotten in three theories from now. Like evil robot Charlie baby from the books being in FNAF's theory. Like, yeah, that was what happened to that theory. I'm not criticizing the theorists making these theories. I couldn't come up with a better theory, obviously. I'm just saying that, like, you know what I'm saying.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Circus, babies, pizza world. Look again at the costumes that we see in the Mimics room. An elephant, clown, and a lion. Both animals that are commonly associated with circuses.
It's like we're looking, okay, this is my problem. We're now like looking at costumes of elephants and clowns, and it's like, I still don't know who Gregory is. I still don't know who Cassie is. I still don't know who Vanessa is. Why am I looking at this freaking costume?
Bird actually looks a lot like a crow to me with its wide.
Assuming this is all correct, which it very well may be, where does this lead us to any sort of story that's building any sort of stakes or building to any sort of climax? Like, okay, so what? Like, if solving FNAF just means like figuring out the vague connections and how everything rhymes, like Star Wars or something, like, oh yeah, because this is a reference to that, and this is a reference to that. It's just all circular references to each other and no defining canon, no plot development, no character development, no stakes building, no climax we're building towards. And if there's no climax, everyone leaves unsatisfied.
Dumbo, another circus-based film that stars crows and
freaking Dumbo?
There is no reason to call out all of these parallels unless it is specifically to call our attention to Circus Baby.
Or to distract us from the fact that there's no freaking story. And that instead of a story, it's just like a bunch of fan service and Easter eggs scattered about that like sort of tell you a vague general idea of what might be going on.
But more importantly, this actually has some massive timeline implications.
Yeah, implications on the timeline, but who cares? Like, we've done the timeline 1,000 times already, guys. Like, I want to know what happens next. I want to know what's happening in the story now. No one knows, because nothing's happening in the story right now.
Oh my!
This vague bullshit storytelling worked in the prior FNAF games because we were always investigating stuff that had happened years ago. In Security Breach and Ruin, though, we play as characters with agency over the plot. We're watching the story as it unfolds, and that old style just doesn't work.
Part of the reason it always felt tough for me to play Circus Babies into a timeline is because it closes after the death of Elizabeth. It always felt like a good starting point for Afton to then begin seeking eternal life and to put people back together. But what didn't make sense is why Baby would have a claw mechanism in her chest to capture kids. Afton wouldn't need to capture kids until after he had lost his child. But if Circus Babies was actually much earlier in the timeline, like these old costumes seem to suggest, things start to fall into place. Henry was the initial robotics genius. Afton just had the ideas and then gave them to Henry to turn into animatronics, like what we see with Edwin in the Mimic stories. I always brush this little detail off as confusing, but before the release of Sister Location, we got this ending from FNAF World, where Henry sits at a desk talking about the evil that he created before he unalives himself, just like what we see him do in the novel trilogy.
But none of this, no one cares about any of that. And again, yeah, okay, so like this is the FNAF trick. This is the FNAF trick. And again, it's not MatPat's fault, it's not FNAF's fault, it's not any theorist's fault, right? They get you to start focusing on something that doesn't actually matter to the story whatsoever. What does any of this shit have to do with Ruin? Nothing! nothing. Notice none of this has anything to do with Ruin. Ruin is trivial. The events that we just played, the game, are meaningless to this story. They don't matter at all. And like, you get duped into thinking that like there's some big reveal, but then at the end we find out like, oh, we found out like we were able to piece together that Henry actually built Circus Baby, and now we know where Circus Baby's lies in the timeline. It's like, so what, dude? Like, that game came out like years ago. Like, I thought we were moving on. I thought we were going to a new story. But what about the freaking Pizzaplex? What about the game we just played? What about Cassie? What about Gregory? What about Vanessa? Come on, guys. Notice none of these people none of them have showed up in this theory once. And again, that's not MatPat's fault. It's because he's working with what Steel Wool and Scott give him, and they're not giving him anything. They're once again recontextualizing the FNAF story for the 15th time, the 100th millionth canon retcon. Like, okay, I get it. You wanted to make the original FNAF games, and you want to change the story and do something new. Like, you could just do that. You could just do that. You could just like make a game that's like, hey guys, that was the old FNAF and this is the new FNAF. It's a new story. And we'd all be like, awesome, new story, finally a clean slate. They wanted to do the Mimic. Okay, cool. No doubt, Mimic is cool. Mimic can be really cool. Maybe it could be really scary. Like, I'm down with the Mimic, right? They wanted to do the Mimic. Just do it. Just do it. Just like put the Mimic in and be like, this is the new story and this is the Mimic and he's the new villain and there's AIs and shit. Like, you don't need to bend over backwards explaining how this can still connect with this old lore that's settled. It's settled. It's done. Is anyone unsatisfied with the FNAF 1 through 6 story and UCN? Bunch of kids get killed and stuffed into suits, and then like Afton dies and burns for eternity.
Please, no, Michael. I want the door. Michael, no! Ah!
And you see it's fine. It was conclusive. Henry comes back and burns him, and it's awesome. It's awesome. It's great. It's fantastic. It's over. We don't need, and then, like, this is the thing. Like, it's like they're constantly adding these new elements and then figuring out like convoluted ways to bend over backwards. Like the best example of this all started with the multiple pizzerias. It started with not his fault. MatPat realizing that FNAF's story as presented by Scott only made sense if there was another pizzeria that didn't exist in any of the games. Now we know there's like a million of those, right? He realized like, yeah, the only way for this to make sense is for there to have been another pizzeria. And instead of Scott like being like, oh yeah, that's dumb though, because like that's so dumb. Like, why would there be another, like, that's not a good story. Like, oh, it was actually at a different pizzeria that you never saw. Like, it's a band-aid, right? Instead of just sort of disregarding and moving on, it feels like we've built on top of all of this convoluted lore, all of which were sort of like band-aids to fix issues with the story that Scott was making up as he went along in the first place. The fact that it was like there was another FNAF location another Freddy's location that we didn't know about, it was like so dumb. It's like, okay, well, at that point there can be a million Freddy locations that we don't know about, and millions of missing kids, and like whatever, right? Let's play some freaking Ban. I would refund that game if I hadn't just streamed it, deadass. I would deadass refund that game. Even if it took more than 2 hours, I would refund it anyway and just say, holy shit, shut up. I would refund it anyway and be like, dude, this is not acceptable. This was terrible.